Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. Very special day today for me. Happy birthday, Mom. Talking about my biological mother who died when I was 4 years old, about to turn 5, the month after her death. Today is the birthday of my mother. She would have been 74 years old today. Instead, she died at the age of 24. 50 years celebrate. Well, if you want to call it a celebration, it's a celebration of her life, but it's also the year that I can say is the 50-year celebration of the death of my mother. She died on May the 1st of 1968. Can't even tell you the level of impact that her death had on me. No, I mean it. I can't tell you. I don't know. It's something I've soul searched on for years, and I'll tell you this. Having lost my mother, and obviously my grandparents adopted me and my brother, so it looks like there was this continuity, but it wasn't. I tell people all the time, on May the 1st of 1968, not only did I lose my mother, I lost my grandmother and my grandfather too. Because when your grandparents have to take over and become your parents, you lose your grandparents. The unfortunate thing about being young and black and poor is black folks don't tell you, yeah, we're going to get you into therapy and help you understand what happened to your mom. On May the 1st, 1968, my mother died. I watched my grandmother get carried out by orderlies when she went to pick my mother up at the hospital for female surgery is what they called it. I remember them describing it as that, and I was like, what the heck is female surgery? Asked my grandmother, why is Mommy going to the doctor? She said, baby, she has to have female surgery. It was a day surgery. And my grandmother goes to pick her up. Next thing I see is my grandmother coming out crying, being carried by orderlies, her head tilted back and her eyes rolling back in her head. And she had to drive home with 2 little kids that didn't understand what was going on as she wept in that car. And when she got home, started calling people, telling them that my mother had died. Her best friend. My mother and grandmother were best friends. They would sit on the front porch on our house at 2235 Hayes Street. And my brother and I would be inside in the living room playing, but we could hear them through those, those window air conditioners where the air would come. The vents would be there. You could hear them through that window because they had these little accordion things that made the air conditioning fit the window because it never fit the window perfectly. So we'd hear their conversations and, I didn't care what they were talking about. We were busy doing what we were doing, usually playing marbles or something like that. And so much respect my grandmother had for her daughter and my grandfather, who was her adopted father, the only father she really knew because her real father, my real grandfather, was an alcoholic and my grandmother had left him. But, they would sit out there and my grandfather marveled at the intellect of my mother. How she would debate people. My grandmother said to me, Kevin, you have the identical way of your mom. You debate people in a way that shuts them down. But you do it, you do it nicely. Sometimes they don't even realize it's happened. So for you guys to go, Kevin, you're so good on Fox, man. I love it when you're on Fox. Let me tell you, I got it honestly. It's my mother that did it. May the 1st. On May the 2nd, I would wake up the next day, that day, forever losing my mother, not understanding it. Trying to figure out, what is this world about? Where is that woman that used to wake me up in the morning, come give me kisses, sit me down at that little table while I had my breakfast cereal, made sure my clothes were right, got as my grandmother would call it, the matter out of your eyes. You know how you get that crusty stuff in your eyes when you sleep? And sent me off to school, and that was my routine. And on May the 1st, that routine was interrupted. May the 1st of 1968, never to be repeated again. So not only was I dealing with these issues of my mother dying, my dad being in prison at the time, my dad didn't make my mom's funeral. He didn't make his mother's funeral. And I could go on. Deadbeat. So anyway, today would be the 74th birthday of my mom. And it's an interesting thing because I never celebrated one of her birthdays that I remember. I mean, technically, 4 of them went by during my lifetime, but I barely have memories of her. You know, I have fleeting ones. I remember on my 4th birthday, before she sent me to school, my grandmother and my mom keeping me out of school that day because I was thinking I was getting ready for school, and they made me a cake. And then I spent the day, I don't know doing what, but they told me, no, you're not going to go to school today, baby. And I was like, why? I go to school every day. But I was 4 years old. I remember that day. I remember the day my mom came home and she was crying because Martin Luther King had been killed. I remember that. That same year, by the way. So I have these faint memories of things, but I don't have a whole lot. So I figure, you know what? I'd share it with you guys. 74 years old. So happy birthday, Mom. The sad news is on May the 1st, I will be celebrating 50 years of her death. I mean, this is the year, but it will be 50 years that I've been without her, my brother and I. Interesting concept. I don't think about it very often. I guess it's also going to be the 50-year anniversary of Martin Luther King dying. I talked about that earlier, not dying, but being assassinated. And that comes up in April. I want you to think about that. In April, I think it's April the 7th, my mom came back to the house, told my grandmother, no, she had called her to say Martin Luther King had been assassinated, and my grandmother started crying on the phone. Duh, that's just not true, baby. And then when they got home, I watched them embrace and cry. And not even a month later, my mother would be dead. It's just shocking now that I think about it and put it into context. Oh, interesting. Interesting to me anyway. Well, listen, folks, don't be sad. It's not a sad moment for me. It's actually a joyous moment because I'm glad to be able to share that with you and not be completely emotional about it. I used to just break down in tears when I would think about this. Maybe it shows my emotional growth over that whole thing because let me tell you, not having my mom impacted me in ways I can't even describe to you. I hope none of your children ever have to deal with it.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.